My name is Lee R. Yazzie, and about a year ago, I learned that sometimes the most humiliating night of your life becomes the exact moment your life starts getting better. At the time, though, there was nothing inspiring about it. I was sitting at a birthday dinner I had planned, surrounded by people I had invited, watching my boyfriend raise a glass while his friends laughed at me. I met Miles Carter during our sophomore year of college. He was studying graphic design, always sketching logos in notebooks and talking about someday running his own creative studio. I studied software engineering. Miles used to joke that I was the anchor while he was the sail. Back then, I thought it was romantic. After graduation, we moved together to a mid-sized city where I landed a stable job at a tech firm, and Miles began freelancing. His income was inconsistent, so I covered most of our expenses while he built his portfolio. When deadlines crushed him, I cooked dinner. When clients disappeared, I covered rent without mentioning it. When his computer crashed the night before a major presentation, I stayed awake helping recover files until almost sunrise. "You're my rock, Lee," he used to tell me. Eventually, the word rock started sounding suspiciously close to furniture. Miles's social circle expanded as his career improved. Darren was the loud one, always talking about connections and status. Luke laughed at whatever Darren said. They attended openings, networking parties, rooftop events, and anything that could be photographed for social media. Miles began coming home later. "How was tonight?" I would ask. "Just creative industry stuff," he'd say. "You wouldn't understand. Your tech world is too predictable." I told myself he needed independence. I bought tickets to exhibitions, planned weekend trips, tried restaurants Miles mentioned. I even turned down a promotion that would have required relocation because he told me, "Lee, I finally have a network here. You can't expect me to start over." So I stayed. That decision would become almost funny later. The biggest red flags came through comparisons. Miles showed me posts from flashy entrepreneurs and executives. "See that?" he once said. "That's ambition. Not just sitting at the same company collecting a paycheck." Sometimes he compared me to Darren's girlfriend. "She surprised him with Vegas tickets. Why can't we ever do spontaneous things?" Meanwhile, intimacy disappeared. Conversation became shallow. I felt less like his partner and more like the stable background supporting the exciting life he wanted other people to see. Then came Miles's 28th birthday. I wanted it to be special. I reserved a table at an upscale Italian restaurant downtown, invited Darren, Luke, and several of Miles's creative friends, arranged balloons and a birthday banner, ordered a cake, and bought Miles a custom silver necklace featuring a miniature stylus. It cost more than I should have spent. I remember arriving and thinking I had nailed everything. Miles smiled when everyone cheered. For nearly an hour, conversation revolved around projects and industry gossip I barely understood. I smiled anyway because Miles looked happy. Then Darren stood and lifted his glass. "To Miles," he announced. "The king of upgrades. May 28 bring even better things." Everyone laughed. I raised my glass too, although something about Miles's expression made my stomach tighten. Then Miles lifted his drink. "To upgrading," he said, looking directly at me. "Because life's too short for settling." Darren burst out laughing. Luke nearly choked on his drink. My fork stopped halfway to my mouth. "Upgrading?" I asked. "What exactly does that mean?" Miles leaned back. "Oh, come on, Lee. We've been drifting for months." The table suddenly felt colder. Then he said the name. "Jade." I stared at him. "Who is Jade?" "She works in sales, travels constantly. She understands my world. She pushes me." Darren smirked. "Jade actually has energy." Luke added, "No offense, Lee, but Miles needs more than Netflix and spreadsheets." I looked back at Miles. "So, you're cheating on me?" He rolled his eyes. "Don't make this dramatic. Emotionally, we've been finished for months. Jade just happened." "Then why am I sitting here paying for your birthday?" Silence. Miles shrugged. "Because you're safe, Lee. Stable. But I need more than safe." He smiled. "Jade is an upgrade." Something inside me went completely still. I reached into my purse. Miles seemed almost disappointed that I wasn't crying. I signaled the waiter, paid the entire bill, more than $400 with the cake, and stood. "Lee?" Miles said. I placed the unopened necklace beside his plate. "Happy birthday." His smile faltered. I picked up my coat. "Enjoy your upgrade." Then I walked out while his friends watched. By the time Miles finally came home, most of my clothes were already gone. The drive away from the restaurant barely registered. I remember red lights, reflections on the windshield, and my hands gripping the steering wheel harder than necessary. What I remember most clearly was Miles's voice repeating in my head: safe, stable, boring. By the time I reached our apartment, humiliation had turned into something colder. Clarity. I packed a duffel first. Clothes, laptop, chargers, toiletries, important documents. Then I packed another bag. Miles didn't come home that night. I didn't ask where he was. Maybe he stayed with Darren. Maybe he went to Jade's place. At that point, knowing would have changed nothing. Before sunrise, I had loaded most of what mattered into my car. I left my key on the kitchen counter beside a short note. Take care. No accusations. No dramatic paragraphs. No questions he could twist into another excuse. I stayed with my friend Ben across town and turned my phone off for almost 24 hours. When I finally switched it back on, there were 17 messages from Miles. The first few were defensive. "You embarrassed me by walking out like that." Then confusion. "Are you seriously leaving over one conversation?" Then irritation. "Lee, grow up and answer me." I stared at that message for a long time. Apparently announcing another woman at a birthday dinner was maturity. Leaving quietly was childish. I didn't respond. The next few weeks were harder than I expected. There was no satisfying rush of freedom. Mostly, there was confusion. I replayed years of memories and tried to identify the moment everything had changed. The night I stayed awake fixing Miles's computer before a client deadline. The months I paid more than my share of rent while he built his portfolio. The promotion I declined. Every sacrifice looked different now. I even started wondering whether Miles had been right about me. Was I boring? Too predictable? Had stability become another word for lacking ambition? Those thoughts were the part of betrayal nobody talks about. Someone doesn't just hurt you. Sometimes they hand you their distorted version of who you are, and for a while, you carry it around like a mirror. I started therapy partly because I was tired of staring into that mirror. My therapist asked me something simple during our third session. If Miles wanted a different life, why did he need to humiliate you to choose it? I didn't have an answer. That question stayed with me. I handled the breakup practically. Our names were both on the lease, but Miles wanted to keep the apartment. So we arranged the paperwork by email. No meetings, no emotional conversations. I temporarily blocked him on social media and focused on work. For years, I had avoided responsibilities that might interfere with our relationship. Now, there was nothing to protect. I volunteered for a difficult project. Started staying late because I wanted to, not because I was avoiding home. My manager noticed. "You ever reconsider that leadership track?" she asked one afternoon. The same kind of opportunity I had once rejected for Miles. This time, I said, "Yeah, I think I have." I joined a gym, then a local coding meetup. At first, I felt awkward going alone, but eventually I started recognizing people. Coffee after meetings became normal. Weekend hikes followed. My world expanded quietly. No dramatic makeover, no sudden glamorous transformation, just pieces of myself returning. About 2 months after the breakup, I rented a small apartment of my own. It wasn't fancy, but everything inside it was chosen, because I liked it. I even started dating casually. Nothing serious. But sitting across from someone who asked about my work without mocking it reminded me that Miles's opinion had never been universal truth. I wasn't boring to everyone. Eventually, I stopped wondering whether I was boring at all. That was when I began hearing about Miles. I never asked. Updates simply arrived through mutual acquaintances. At first, it was vague. Someone mentioned Miles posting cryptic messages about loyalty and fake energy. I shrugged. Then, around 3 months after his birthday dinner, an old mutual friend ran into him at a coffee shop. Apparently, the upgrade wasn't going according to plan. Jade had promised excitement, design conferences, trips, connections, a glamorous life that made my routines look painfully ordinary. Then she started canceling plans. Work travel, she said. Client emergencies. Late meetings. Miles defended her because those were exactly the qualities he had admired. Busy, spontaneous, constantly moving. Until one evening, he saw messages on her phone. Another woman's name appeared first, but the conversation made it clear Jade was helping a male coworker hide behind a female contact name. Miles confronted her. According to our friend, Jade barely looked embarrassed. "You thought we were serious?" she asked. Miles apparently stood there stunned. Then Jade laughed. "Come on, Miles. You're fun, but I'm keeping my options open." The irony was almost too perfect. The woman he had called an upgrade had been upgrading her options too. And that was only the beginning. The consequences didn't stop with Jade cheating. Once she disappeared, Miles was left with the version of his exciting new life that nobody had toasted to at his birthday dinner. Hotel charges, conference tickets, restaurant bills, weekend trips he had agreed to split because Jade kept telling him they were investments in experiences. Some of those expenses were sitting on his credit cards. Without Jade contributing, Miles suddenly couldn't afford the lifestyle he had been showing off online. His freelance work suffered too. He had spent months chasing networking events, parties, trips, and whatever opportunity Jade promised would put him in the right room with the right people. Meanwhile, deadlines slipped. One client dropped him, then another. An old acquaintance told me Miles had shown up almost 40 minutes late to an important design meeting looking exhausted and distracted. The contract disappeared soon afterward. And then, his friends started vanishing. That part surprised me less. Darren had been the loudest person at the birthday dinner, laughing while Miles called me boring. Apparently, Darren stopped inviting Miles out once every conversation became about Jade. Luke followed him. The people who had cheered when Miles traded stability for excitement suddenly found his problems exhausting. I didn't celebrate any of it. Honestly, by then, I was too busy living my own life. I had accepted more responsibility at work and was being considered for the promotion track I once turned down. I had new friends. My apartment felt like home. Miles had gone from being the center of my emotional universe to someone I occasionally heard about through other people. Around 6 months after the breakup, I unblocked him, not because I missed him. Blocking him simply felt unnecessary anymore. 3 days later, a message arrived. "Hey Lee. Hope you're doing well. Been thinking about us lately. I miss talking to you." I read it, then put my phone down. A week later. "I know I messed up. Jade was a huge mistake. Could we get coffee? Just talk?" No response. Then came the voicemail. "Lee, please pick up. I feel completely alone. Darren and Luke don't even talk to me anymore. Jade destroyed me. I know you probably hate me, but you always understood me. I really need someone who knows me right now." That sentence told me more than he realized. He needed someone. Not necessarily me. He needed the person who used to absorb his stress, solve his problems, and make everything feel stable again. The next voicemail sounded less apologetic. "Why are you ignoring me? We were together for years. Whatever happened, I deserve at least one conversation. This is cruel." Cruel. The man who had announced another woman at a birthday dinner I paid for was calling silence cruel. Then his family joined in. His sister messaged me first. "Miles is going through hell. You could at least hear him out. Don't punish him forever for one mistake." I blocked her. 2 days later, an unknown number called. "Lee? This is Miles's mother." I almost hung up immediately. "He's devastated," she continued. "Whatever happened between you two, he's sorry. You were together a long time. Surely you can act like an adult and talk to him." "I already acted like an adult," I said. I left. Then I ended the call. I thought that would be the end of it. It wasn't. One afternoon, Security at my office called upstairs. There's a man in the lobby asking for you. My stomach tightened before they even said his name. Miles Carter. I considered refusing to go down. Instead, I decided I wanted this finished. When the elevator doors opened, I barely recognized him. He looked thinner. His hair was messy. Dark circles sat beneath his eyes. Lee. I stayed several feet away. You have 5 minutes. His eyes immediately filled. Jade used me. I said nothing. She cheated. She left me with all these bills. My clients are disappearing. Darren and Luke were never real friends. He stepped closer. I finally understand what I had with you. There it was, not what he had done to me, what he had lost. You gave me stability, he continued. You cared about me when nobody else did. I was stupid. I was chasing excitement. Miles, we can fix this. No. His face froze. I'll change. No. You don't even want to think about it? I already did. His desperation cracked. You're seriously going to throw away everything because of one dinner? I almost smiled. You threw it away at that dinner. His expression hardened. So that's it? You get to act like I meant nothing? You meant a lot. That seemed to calm him for half a second. I finished quietly. Past tense. His face changed completely. You're being petty. And there it was. The apology disappearing the moment it failed. I stepped backward toward the elevator. Take care, Miles. You'll regret this, he snapped. You think you're better off alone? Eventually you're going to realize nobody wants boring forever. The elevator doors opened. I stepped inside. Before they closed, I looked at the man I had once sacrificed a promotion for. For the first time, his words didn't hurt. They only confirmed that leaving had been the right decision. What Miles didn't know was that I wasn't alone. And by the time our paths crossed again, he would discover exactly how completely my life had moved on, without him. A full year passed after Miles's birthday dinner before I saw him again. By then, almost everything about my life had changed. The promotion I once turned down because Miles refused to leave his network eventually came back around in a different form. This time, I didn't hesitate. I took it. The raise was substantial. The new role was challenging. And for the first time in years, I wasn't making career decisions based on whether someone else might feel inconvenienced by my growth. 6 months later, I bought a condo. Nothing extravagant. 2 bedrooms, a small balcony, a kitchen that actually got morning light. The day I signed the papers, I stood alone in the empty living room holding the keys and remembered Miles once mocking me for talking about saving for a house. Boring, he had called it. Now boring looked a lot like freedom. I had also started seeing someone. His name was Evan Brooks. We met through a mutual friend at a weekend hiking group. Evan wasn't flashy. He didn't spend every conversation trying to prove he was the most interesting person in the room. He worked in civil engineering, loved terrible documentaries, cooked better than I did, and had this habit of actually listening when I spoke instead of waiting for his turn to talk. We weren't rushing anything. That mattered to me. One evening, a mutual friend invited us to a house party. I almost skipped it. Then I thought about how much of my life I had once organized around avoiding discomfort. So I went. The party was relaxed. Music in the backyard. People gathered around the grill. Someone had strung lights between 2 trees. I was standing beside Evan, laughing with a group from my coding circle, when the front gate opened. Miles walked in, alone. For a second, the entire year collapsed into one image. The restaurant, the raised glass, Darren laughing, Miles saying, "Life's too short for settling." Then the memory passed. Miles saw me. He froze. His gaze moved from my face to Evan's hand, resting lightly against my back. Then he started walking directly toward us. Lee. His voice sounded almost breathless. Hi, Miles. Evan glanced at me. I squeezed his hand once. Miles looked thinner than the last time I had seen him, better groomed than when he appeared at my office, but still exhausted around the eyes. I didn't know you'd be here. Neither did I. He laughed nervously. Maybe that means something. I already knew where this was going. Miles stepped closer. Can we talk? We are talking. Several people nearby had gone quieter. Miles noticed. That should have stopped him. Instead, desperation apparently made privacy irrelevant. I'm sorry. His voice cracked. For everything. The dinner. Jade. The way I treated you. All of it. I stayed silent. I was wrong, Lee. He glanced around. My life has been a disaster since then. Work has been inconsistent. Darren barely speaks to me. Luke disappeared when things got hard. He swallowed. And Jade. I almost interrupted. I didn't need another chapter of the Jade story. But Miles continued. She cheated on me. More than once, apparently. His eyes filled. I finally understand what I threw away. There it was again. What he threw away. Not what I endured. He looked directly at me. Take me back. Someone behind us shifted awkwardly. Miles kept going. We can start over. I'll do everything differently. I tilted my head. Start over? Yes. A faint smile touched my mouth. Like upgrading? His face tightened. Lee, please. No, I'm genuinely curious. I kept my voice calm. Because the last time we were publicly discussing our relationship, you were holding a glass and telling everyone how excited you were to upgrade from me. His cheeks turned red. That was stupid. Very. I was influenced by Darren and Luke. They didn't make you cheat. He looked down. No. They didn't make you invite me to pay for your birthday dinner while you announced another woman. No. They didn't make you call me boring. His voice dropped. No. I nodded. Then maybe stop giving them ownership of choices you made yourself. Miles glanced toward Evan. His expression changed. Who is he? Evan remained quiet. I answered. Evan. So you replaced me. I actually laughed. Not cruelly. The statement was simply absurd. Replaced you? Miles's voice sharpened. You know what I mean. No. Evan isn't filling your position. I looked at Evan, then back at Miles. He has his own. That landed harder than I expected. Miles stared at me. So what? He's your upgrade now? There was the word. The same one that had once destroyed me. This time, it had no power. No, I said. He's someone who values the things you mocked. Miles blinked. Stability, loyalty, planning, peace. I paused. And he somehow manages to appreciate those things without humiliating me in front of his friends. A few people nearby looked away, trying not to react. Tears gathered in Miles's eyes. You're being cruel. That word again. I felt almost tired hearing it. I cared about you, Miles. His expression softened immediately. I finished. Past tense. His jaw tightened. For a moment I saw the old anger returning. You think your life is perfect now? No. I smiled. It's peaceful. That was better. I got the promotion. He stared. The one you wanted me to move for? The opportunity changed. But yes. I finally stopped turning things down because I was afraid someone else might resent me for growing. His face fell. I bought a condo too. Silence. Miles looked genuinely stunned. Everything he once dismissed as dull had built the exact life he now wanted back. He looked at Evan again, then at me. I really did love you. I know. That surprised him. Then why can't you forgive me? I did. Hope flashed across his face. But forgiveness isn't reconciliation. The hope vanished. I raised my drink slightly. Enjoy the party, Miles. Then I turned toward Evan. Miles called after me. Lee. I looked back once. His voice was barely audible. Jade was supposed to be better. I studied him for a second. Then I understood something that finally closed the last open door inside me. Miles was still measuring people as upgrades and downgrades. He had learned that Jade hurt him. He had not fully learned why what he did to me was wrong, so I gave him the only answer he needed. People aren't upgrades. Then I walked away. Evan touched my hand. You okay? I looked around at the friends I had made, the career I had rebuilt, and the life Miles once convinced me was too boring to be valuable. Yeah. And this time, there wasn't even a trace of doubt. I didn't win because Miles's upgrade cheated. I didn't win because his friends abandoned him. I won because somewhere between that humiliating birthday dinner and this backyard, I stopped seeing myself through the eyes of someone who had never understood my worth. Miles had wanted excitement. I had built peace. And I wouldn't trade it for anything.